Hello, I'm Father Louis Scurti with Friends of the Word, the weekday version, the weekday word. Today my guest is back. His name is Nick TAMARO. Welcome, Nick.
Thanks for having me again.
And Nick was here a few weeks ago for another shooting of our word, and he shared some activities that he's involved in, some of his charities, and some of the things that were influential in his life, for instance, his parish and his family. Today we're going to talk about where that all came from in Nick as a young Catholic. The gospel I chose is the gospel from Luke chapter 9, Jesus summoning his disciples and sending the 12 out. Jesus summoned the 12 and gave them power and authority over all demons and to cure diseases. And he sent them to proclaim the kingdom of God and to heal the sick. He said to them, "Take nothing for the journey, neither walking stick, nor sack, nor food, nor money, and let no one take even a second tunic. Whatever house you enter, stay there, and leave from there. And as for those who do not welcome you, when you leave that town, shake the dust from your feet in testimony against them." Then they set out and went from village to village, proclaiming the good news and curing diseases everywhere. The gospel of the Lord. Now, Nick is not curing diseases, but he is proclaiming the gospel. He's enacting the gospel. He's putting the gospel to use. So let's hear how Nick has done that. Okay, Nick. Last time you were here, you spoke about your charity that you started, which was the
Sports Toss, and it originated from me graduating high school, and I played a lot of sports throughout my years of grammar school, middle school, high school, and I have cured a lot of sports equipment that I didn't know what I was going to do with, either throw out, but I realized, there's people out there in the inner cities, young adults, young children that don't have the opportunity I had with having these sports equipment. And I realized, I'm going to give it to them. And, I started up a collection, Annunciation. I try to do it every season. And we filled up truckloads of equipment, and we got a really great response. And, it's amazing to see these kids' eyes light up and to see how happy they are. It's an amazing feeling.
that's a reward for you, that the eyes lighting up and the feeling that comes back. How do you connect the gospel with that? How do you, or do you? Is that an example of living out your faith?
Yes, I believe that, we need to give back all the time to the less fortunate, to the people that are suffering out there, okay? If everybody just put their hand out for someone, this world would be so much better off than it is today. And, it's keeping those kids off the streets and off out of trouble and all those things that ultimately take them away from God and Jesus Christ.
Right.
And all those worldly clamors that people try to take out and try to fill that void. But Jesus and God have always been there.
How has Jesus inspired you to do this? I mean, you're basically a healing and curing. You're bringing the gospel, the good news, materially, not by preaching in the gospel preaching, but by action preaching. Where did your inspiration come from?
I was always involved in the church, always as a young kid, around 7 years old. My family was always involved in the church, and me and my father would get food for the poor, and we started the Society for the Poor. My mom started that, and it really just started from there. And then I continued to pray and stay in conscious contact with the God and Jesus Christ, and every day that's the strongest relationship I need to have with him, and to give back is, the most important thing in my life.
So you're receiving inspiration from Jesus, and you're giving back to the community. Great. Talk more about, as a young adult, you're sitting in church. You go to church, first of all, as a young adult, which is really important. Speak to your peers. What should they do, or how can they do it to experience the connection between Jesus, themselves, and the world?
I really think, starting off, as you said, it's really important to start young in church and go to church every week. and receive the sacraments, communion, starting from baptism, communion, receive all those sacraments, and it's a great process in learning more about Jesus. And then, it's time for you to give back. That's what I felt like. It was time for me to give back after I received those sacraments, and to be able to now help all these people out there that are suffering, and to realize that, God is always going to be, and Jesus Christ is always going to be with me. I don't need to see the reasons why things are happening in my life. I just need to believe that I have a purpose here today. I'm here today.
What role did your family play in all this? I know Dad and you used to go shopping, you said, for groceries.
Yeah.
For
It started from my grandparents. My grandma still goes to church every week with my cousin, and my dad's been a member of Annunciation for a long, long time. My mother's been really involved. She started the Society for the Poor. I started to be an altar server right the day after I did my first Holy Communion. I had to get involved in the church. And I need to do things that I have to walk this thing out.
And it's funny because for our audience, every once in a while, I have usually the 11:45 Mass at Annunciation, and a server doesn't show up, especially during the beautiful weather. And of course, Nick is there. I drafted more than once. You've been drafted, and it's great because he knows he's a server. I mean, he knows how to do it. This is wonderful, and we're going to have you back again. Thank you. I want to thank your family too, your mom and dad, and your sister, for contributing to your faith, and your faith being something that we can certainly emulate in our own lives. Thank you very much for being here. This has been Father Lou Scurti with Nick TAMARO from Annunciation in Wayne, New Jersey. Thank you for joining us. Let's hear from you. Contact me. Send me an email, fatherlouscurti@hotmail.com. Until next time, God bless you.